So I agree with everything you just said, but I did get a very different impression from your post at the time. So on Blue Sky, you posted a, I don't know what that is, a starfish that's happy with balloons, and then the text CEO down.
Yeah.
And you wrote, woke up to see this spammed in my group chats. You also shared some news about...
Sorry. So just to be clear, that's me saying waking up to seeing this meme being shared all over. I'm an internet culture reporter, right? So I share a lot of, I shared Nazi saying like, hey, this is trending. Or this is shared. That doesn't mean it's...
Okay. Keep in mind that her job is like to be a communicator. So it's extra funny if she's continually misunderstood so much, all this stuff, right? This is literally your job. How can you continue to mess this up so much, you know? Taylor Lorenz, if you're just now spotting that she's a demon, bro, my queen.
Taylor Lorenz, have you encouraged assassinations?
No.
So crazy,
Should
bro.
somebody do it?
Do what? Do the, like the meme? Murder someone? I'm going to say no. I made a whole video about that, actually.
Oh, I know. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Should schools ban phones?
If the school wants to, it depends whether the government or the school is doing it, I would say.
Are we still in a COVID-19 pandemic?
According to the World Health Organization, and definitionally, COVID is spreading at pandemic levels.
Should people still be wearing masks?
I mean, airborne disease is real. So I don't know what to tell people. I mean, people in Asia have worn masks for years and they don't get the flu as much. They have healthier outcomes. So yeah, ideally we'd clean the air and we wouldn't have to like personally filter. It's like, I don't want to have to personally filter my water every time it comes out of the tap. That's annoying. I think we should just have clean water. I think we should have clean air as well.
This was a quick fire, like yes or no, but she gives some qualifications and stuff, but pretty reasonable, would you say, Matt? Or any issues you take with that?
No, it all sounded good. She said she wouldn't encourage people to murder other people, and that's good.
Yeah, I was glad to hear that. Okay. Yeah, and all very reasonable. And she also wants to clarify that, like, look, she's often misrepresented, Matt, but if you talk to her, she will clarify these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
So she says this.
Yeah, I think everything's taken out of context, and I think it's a matter of kind of
out of context.
Again, people consuming somebody else's posts through this filter mechanism and intentionally misrepresenting their views. I am a very good faith person. If somebody says, "Hey, what do you mean by that?" I went on Sean Hannity, right, to talk about exactly what I meant by this. I will show up anywhere and say, "Yeah, I totally understand how that reads, but here's what I'm trying to say." So I think like if you want to ignore that context, okay, but there are also people that are in 4K calling for blood and calling for people to be murdered, and I think we should be able to talk about this. Yeah, totally. But we need to be able to talk about that stuff without accusing every single person that says, "Hey, I totally get how these people feel, actually," or "I totally understand their anger." Or
this is actually really well done by Brad. You set this up really well.
What does that mean? Or here's the discussion that's happening. Let's talk about it. When we refuse that stuff and we do the moral panic outrage shit, whether you're on the left or the right, it's just totally unproductive. And we can't talk about these things because they become taboo. And we have rising political violence in this country. That's just a fact. We're seeing it. And I don't think it's going to get better. I really don't.
So what's the context here, Chris? This is in relation...
Pisco replied to the Mockler APAC tweet. Please stop. I don't care. Please stop linking Pisco tweets. No one cares. Stop.
...to the assassination of the health executive?
Well, this is part of the context. Okay, so Taylor made some controversial tweets and statements in the week of that event. And she, in general, is like a very opinionated journalist, right? And so she often gets in controversy for statements and so on that she makes online. And this is like one of her well-known, relatively recent, viral moments, is that she made these provocative statements that were interpreted by many as supporting violence. And so he's bringing this up in the interview. They go on to discuss her other points, which are around like masking and so on. But so she's clarifying, as she said at the start, no, she doesn't support violence. And here she said, it's always a good time when someone declares themselves a good faith person. But she said, I'll go on hostile media and clarify what I meant. And, I'm taken out of context a lot. So that's to be expected. And
the odds of Mockler ever being hard on Hassan for his terrorist shit in the near future, they probably won't. But that for these guys, they view the alliance building or whatever as more important than the whatever infighting. That's how they view it. It's not like Mockler doesn't like support terrorism. They just don't think it's important to fight with the people over it.
We should be able to talk about violent rhetoric and stuff without it being taken as an endorsement.
Just a quick question though. So it was tweets, was it, that caused the sensation? Tweets,
yes, and statements. So Brad does a good job of like highlighting a couple of examples, right? So you don't remember them, Matt, or maybe you've never seen them. So let Brad, bring them up and hear Taylor's response, okay?
So would you say the things you posted don't encourage assassinations?
No, I think it's such a ridiculous framing. I mean, explaining the motivations of a killer does not mean that you promote assassinations. I mean, this is America. True crime is a massive, massive industry. We have the Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix show, that's explaining his motivations. Does that mean that they're endorsing Jeffrey Dahmer's behavior? No, that's ridiculous. And I think explaining potential motivations in terms of why someone would want to murder a healthcare executive does not mean that you're justifying their behavior. Obviously, no one should be shooting anyone on the street, no matter what. I don't think you should shoot a Palantir executive down on the street either. I think it's a totally ineffective way to solve these systemic problems that we have, especially when it comes to healthcare in this country. I think and I think it'll be interesting.
Look at all that moral clarity. He thought he was going to get Taylor on that, and he didn't, because she is crystal clear about what she believes in. She would never endorse or talk about killing politicians or anything like that. Thank God.
To hear kind of Luigi Mangione's justifications for his behavior, but I don't think there are going to be any good ones.
So Demma, we haven't got to the tweet yet, but What do you think of that?
Well, it sounds very reasonable again. You know, it's fine to want to understand a murderer's motivations, and she's very clear that, you know, it's not a good way to enact healthcare reform to go around shooting executives in the industry. So that sounded pretty good.
I agree. This is great. Like these sentiments, this is what you want. Like somebody very clearly saying, nope, not good, I don't endorse it, and so on. So, okay, Brad's going to now go to some examples and ask her about them.
So I agree with everything you just said, but I did get a very different impression from your post at the time. So on Blue Sky, you posted a, I don't know what that is, a starfish that's happy with balloons, and then the text CEO down, and you wrote, woke up to see this spammed in my group chats. You also shared some news about...
Sorry. So just to be clear, that's me saying waking up to seeing this meme being shared all over. I'm an internet culture reporter, right? So I share I shared Nazi content, right?
See,
saying like, hey, this is trending, or this is shared. That doesn't mean it's...
Okay.
That's not saying, hell yeah, let's go. You know, and listen, I hate these insurance executives. I'm not going to cry, you know, when they, you know, sort of bad things befall them. But I'm sure a lot of people feel that way about me. That doesn't mean I think somebody should go around shooting, you know, me on the street or anyone on the street. Really, I think gun violence generally, as we saw with Charlie Kirk as well, like it's not good regardless.
It's not good.
Okay, what about that? And the comments underneath it, under that tweet, were very celebratory from other people. Like Taylor wasn't endorsing it, but they mistakenly seemed to have taken it that she was promoting it, but she wasn't. It's just like her sharing a neo-Nazi tweet saying,
it's like the use mention distinction. She's not endorsing it. She's not sharing the meme like she's happy about it. She's just saying this is something that is spammed all over my feed. So that's just letting people know that. That's interesting. Yeah.
So that's a good, you know, maybe that's a good defense. Okay, so Brad's got another example to follow this up.
But you did also post in response to Blue Cross Blue Shield news about them, quote, and people wonder why we want these executives dead. So
yes.
that seems like you're expressing that sentiment in your own right, not just
I would love if all of these, you know, evil people in the world wanted to drop dead tomorrow. I think, you know, personally, I'm not going to cry about it. But that doesn't mean that I'm endorsing gun violence, which I've been always very staunchly against, whether it's the shooting of Charlie Kirk in cold blood on a campus. I think that's incredibly dangerous. I think shooting, especially in public, it's just dangerous behavior. It's ridiculous. Like, luckily, other people aren't hurt, but most of the time in these types of incidents, other people are hurt. There are civilian casualties. And I would say this is another reason we need to have a talk about sort of guns in America as well and access to firearms. But yeah, I mean, I think, listen, Brian Thompson, I don't know whether he was morally good, morally bad. I mean, I think his job was unethical. I think the insurance industry is unethical. And I think the way to build a better healthcare system that works for all Americans, because again, the support for the murder of Brian Thompson was across the political spectrum.
A little bit of a harder case there when you tweet out, that's why people wonder why we want these executives. But she does have an explanation.
So she clarified that, I think, very well. She wants them dead. She's not upset that they're dead. They are evil people. But then
she doesn't know. You know, at
the beginning, I think she described them as evil, but at the end,
she did. Yeah, she said Brian Thompson might not be evil.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. Well, but you know, she's. I mean, that's very different though from. I mean, I mean, she said she was glad that there were no like civilians injured in the attack, but I mean, arguably the victim was a civilian. I mean, that's a small point of order.
Yes, it is that thing, Matt, where, you know, she's like, yeah, I don't want people to die. You know, shooting people in public, you could hit someone else, and like, dude, that's not good, right? And you're like, yes, right, but like also the shooting of the intended target is bad as well, right? Like, I get that you don't want people in the background accidentally hit. That would be a tragedy. But you are also saying, like, don't shoot. And it's an odd thing to switch the focus. And also, you know, Matt, when I say, like, oh, I want them dead after there's somebody just been murdered, and they're like, are you endorsing that? And they're like, no, I just, you know, I wouldn't be sad if they died of natural causes. Like, it's a bit of a reach.
It seems like we're getting into some reach. Are there any more clips there, Chris?
Oh, well, yes. Why don't I play you the best one? So, you know, that first one, okay, something of an explanation. This one, a little harder to justify. How like this one, Matt?
Just to round out this point about the response to the Luigi Mangione shooting, you did post immediately after or shortly after the killing of Brian Thompson, an image of the Blue Cross Blue Shield CEO, Kim A. Keck, with her photo and her name. I mean, surely you understand how that could be seen as you saying, get her next.
No.
You don't? Immediately after someone's shot, you post another CEO with their name and face after you just said we want these people dead.
With context, talking about it. Again, like, we need to talk about the context. At that point, people were really talking about that. She was in the conversation, people were talking about it. Again, you can take every single thing that I post and frame it in the worst way possible and intentionally mislead stuff about it. And that's what the right-wing media does. And I have to say, it's such a waste. It's such a waste. And I know it feeds the base and I know it generates outrage, but it's very silly. And the left does it too. I'm not going to say the left doesn't do it too.
You don't think there's anything irresponsible about that? Putting immediately after an assassination against a healthcare CEO, blasting out the name and image and specifically another CEO.
No, but the context in which I blasted it out was saying people are calling death threats against her.
That's the context. Right. Yeah.
Well, no, she didn't put any of that context. She just posted the image of another healthcare CEO with the name.
That is, I mean, come on. Wow.
The good fear factor is somewhat coming under strain from these explanations. Like, yeah, she was part of the conversation, but she was part of the conversation.
So she was contributing to the conversation. So just in case people needed to know what the other healthcare executive, what she looked like and what her name was, in case that needed to be known in the conversation about killing health executives, there's a person there to focus on.
Yeah. And you heard there the attempt to pivot to, the right-wing media. It's always trying to, take things out of context and smear me.
She's a demon, right? I feel like I'm getting better at spotting them. Taylor Lorenz, if you're just now spotting that she's a demon, bro.
Right, like to paint this into, and the context is, I know the context is worse. The context is a healthcare CEO executive was killed. That's the context. And you post up an image of another healthcare CEO. So the context is after you just said that you...
Keep in mind, now this is me engaging somewhat seriously on this, even though I should never make a serious statement about this because Taylor Lorenz is deeply unserious. Keep in mind that her job is to be a communicator. So it's extra funny if she's continually misunderstood so much on all this stuff, right? This is literally your job. How can you continue to mess this up so much,
we want them dead.
And all your followers, everyone in that, a lot of people in that sort of section of Blue Sky, whatever, are celebrating it and saying this is fantastic. And so that is the context. And also tweets. A tweet is a tweet. In a technical sense, there is no context to a tweet. A tweet stands alone, right? So it's not like somebody's taken out a sentence from a 3,000-word manuscript and misrepresented, and not included the paragraph in which it's situated.
I mean, she could have wrote a thing saying, I see a lot of people talking about the CEO, but she didn't even do that.
P.S. Don't kill them.
I just put the address here for
it's very, what's the word? It's very disingenuous. It's slippery. That's the word.
And do you see as well, though, the attempt to present yourself as a victim, right? Like, I see you right-wing media, you like to try and present things out of context, and I'm familiar with it, right? I get what's going on. You want to get the clicks, the downloads. And Hassan is another person that does this. He always says, in context, if you have the context, what I'm saying about the Vietnamese woman
makes total sense.
And I went and looked at the context, man. And the context is always, not always, there are times when they're clipped maliciously. That is true.
Barely.
But very often, they just use context as a catch-all word.
Yeah, it's a get out of jail free card. Yeah, that's right. The context could be, just means that you don't have to stand behind anything you ever say or do. Ever. And if you're Taylor Lorenz or anyone really, then ideally what I'd like to do is make super edgy, viral kinds of tweets and things like that get everyone really riled up. But you also don't actually have to, when everyone's calmed down and you're having a serious conversation or serious articles, you don't actually have to stand behind that and take responsibility for any of that. I mean, so that is the actual context, I think. You see this, I mean, it's like a specific version of a more general thing. Do you remember back when we covered Jordan Peterson? Every single criticism we have on every single point that Jordan Peterson made, people are like, no, you're getting it all wrong.
You need to go and read all of his books, and then you need to go and watch the 27 3-hour YouTube videos, and then you'll understand what he's saying, okay?
Don't understand.
In context.
Every time.
In context, that's right. I know what he said there might sound ridiculous on the face of it, but you have to listen to the whole 12-part, 40-hour lecture series, then it'll make sense. So it's like this amazing get out of jail free card.
Matt, I'm here to tell people, I've done that with various people, and people have suggested that, people said, Gary, if you read this book, it will make you understand where he's coming from. I listened to his entire book, and it did change one chapter. It actually further cemented a bunch of things that I said. And Naomi Klein's book as well. When we covered Naomi Klein, they were like, but if you read the book, you'll understand her. I read the book, and it was exactly what I anticipated. So it's just always this thing where context is, like you said, a get out of jail free card, where people just say, the context here, like I said, makes it worse for her, not better, that you're posting a headshot of a CEO in the context of a CEO just being murdered, right? It's worse context than it looks in isolation. But the thing that Taylor is an expert at doing, and I've noticed this in multiple interviews, and she does it here, just like Constantine, just like Jordan Peterson, very, very quick to paint themselves as a beleaguered victim and to try and shift the focus to other bad people.
The thing that irks me the most, and it's something that Hassan does too, is how she rolls her eyes and laughs about there's no context. You need hours of extra info / context to understand it. Yet they don't provide the same grace of context to anyone else and treat you like the idiot for not knowing when it comes to them, or an idiot for considering context on their adversaries. Well, yeah, because it's a game and they know it's a game. Yeah, I just wish the problem is never them. It's just I wish the public could understand it more. It's the fact that it works is what triggers me so much about it.
Well, they are more worthy of criticism. So listen to this.
Some people did take your post out of context. That's certainly no one gets context, right? The same.
And I'm not going to go out of my way, by the way, just to give you credit. I'm not going out of my way to I'm not going to go out of my way to soften or be Fox News is going to take this out of context, whatever. To me, I kind of don't worry about any of that, and I just kind of speak
post.
How I want. And
just
then,
post.
I'm always happy to clarify. I'm happy to have these conversations. I add quite a lot of nuance to people that, if you wanted to follow me and understand my views on it, I've done a million interviews talking about it, but I just think it's silly to self-censor in a way where it's I'm gonna let me tweet everything in this boring ass way that gives credence to the dumbest.
But you still have to be responsible with your rhetoric, though, and the enormity of your platform. So
enormity, thank you.
I mean, no, you're one of the most influential journalists on the internet, I think. And,
oh my gosh,
your posts get. Sure. I mean, it's just true. It's not me saying I endorse or agree with you. It's just objectively true. You're very well known.
Why can't we have the conversation that people with millions and millions more followers are actively calling for for blood, you know,
Oh,
like
well, I
on
do.
both sides
Like,
of political.
absolutely.
But there's not Fox News articles about them, and a lot of times these people are in
partisan
positions.
media.
There absolutely
Well,
are.
a lot of-
Absolutely.
Yeah, but a lot of times these people are in positions. They have a lot more power and influence than I do. I think there's a fixation with me, especially on the right, to sort of paint me a specific way. And you know, when I make comments against the left, they just ignore that, right? They sort of only get there's only this moral outrage.
Well, the left
around
can be very vicious towards people as well. when
Yeah,
they
tell me about it.
dissent
I know.
So you get it, Matt. Fox News, you know, what about Elon Musk, right? He's promoting violence and stuff. But like the host is saying, yeah, like you're right? But that doesn't mean what you're doing.
Like when I don't clean up the kitchen and just leave a whole bunch of crap everywhere, I can say to my wife, you know, but I did do that. But Elon Musk is a real piece of shit. You have to remember that.
And nobody's talking about that, Matt. You're not allowed to talk about that. You're like, no, we do talk about that as well, right? Like people are often pointing out that he's a massive piece of shit as well. To round this off, I'll just finish with one other point that gets me in, which is Taylor Lorenz made a video on this meme which was going around at the time and afterwards called Someone Should Do It, right? And this is like basically talking about someone should, you know, assassinate Elon Musk or Trump. And this was before the Charlie Kirk assassination, right? Lots of people doing edgy memes saying someone should do it. And Taylor Lorenz made a video about it. She also made tweets implying, you know, the same kind of thing, that she's just reporting that this is being said. And the guy, Brad, went and watched her video, right? And she's brought up, you know, I had this whole video on it, and he talks to her about it.
So again, like if Fox News wants to screenshot something and manufacture outrage for their own engagement bait, I'm not going to live my life in a way where, like, again, there's nothing that I can say, because I did live that way for years. And let me tell you, they would just take anything that I said and sort of intentionally misrepresent it. So,
okay, out of context.
You know,
okay.
So I watched this morning because I always like to go back and revisit. I followed your work for years, but I like to go revisit the stuff before I talk to a guest.
Yeah.
I went back and watched your video. I'll put it on screen, just the thumbnail here. Over 1.1 million views. The title's just Somebody Needs to Do It.
Yeah.
Now, this is your video discussing the trend of people across social media who are saying, like, somebody needs to do it. And I've seen these are super popular everywhere.
Yeah.
They're referring to Trump being killed, right? Being assassinated.
Or Elon Musk in some cases. Basically, it's come to mean kind of like, let's murder the people that we don't like.
So you obviously, your video was very well done video essay, and very interesting. But I did notice, like, at no point in there did you really explicitly disavow that sentiment.
I think you should watch it again. Because that entire video is a critique of this meme and why it's so harmful. And it's instead of saying, like, there's this obsession, especially on the right, with condemning. You have to, you know, do you condemn XYZ? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn? And I never engage in that sort of back and forth, because what I think is, do you understand? Do you understand why? And this is how I started covering the MAGA movement so early. Do you understand why these people are outraged at, you know, the liberal machine? Do you understand why people would vote for Donald Trump? Do you understand the anger that a lot of Americans feel towards the media elite? I would argue a lot of people in the media don't. A lot of journalists don't. A lot of people don't care to understand. And
but I don't think you'd take that approach towards another group, like radical white supremacists or a surge in white supremacist sentiment. I don't think you would do a 35-minute video.
What are you talking about? I have interviewed the Proud Boys in 4K. I very famously...
I didn't finish the sentence.
Okay.
Without explicitly disavowing the sentiment or including voices who speak out about how harmful it is as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting clip, Chris. I think there's a gray zone, isn't there? Because on one hand, you know, Louis Theroux style, it's good to get in there and understand people's motivations and stuff like that. And, you know, you don't necessarily have to rush to judgment. You can spend a bit of time understanding why they're an incel or a neo-Nazi or whatever. But there's a bit of vagary there as well, which is, I don't support the murder of this guy, but I could definitely understand why they did it. And I can understand why a lot of people are very happy about it. And I personally wouldn't be sad at all if they all died somehow. But you know what I mean? So there is some gray zone there. So you can be very selective with your understanding there. And I think you can achieve that sort of plausible deniability while actually being, you know, basically being very supportive. And you can paint the person in the best possible light. So maybe it is technically wrong for this person to murder this other person. But look at the factors that were driving them. They're essentially a freedom fighter, right? Trying to save the lives of so many Americans who are being victimized by this unfair system. There's absolute tyranny, which is murdering thousands of Americans every year. We have to understand that when understanding this incident. It's a gray zone.
And I think the guy Brad does a good point of highlighting that you don't apply this consistently, right? She wouldn't do a 30-minute video on, like, white supremacy views without making it clear somewhere in it that I completely don't agree with these guys or challenging them, right? Or you wouldn't just present it like, oh, well, you know, they have their position, here it is, right? Like, there's only specific ways that you present it. And actually, so that guy Brad, he went and listened to it, right? And she's saying, oh, actually, no, you've misinterpreted it. It's negative. And he does this thing, Matt, of trying to give her an example of, you know, why he thinks she's sympathetic. And you'll be surprised to hear the context comes out again.
I see.
I would make it quite clear in the video that I don't support murdering anyone. I think I explicitly say it. If not, I
don't think it's clear. I'll read you a quote that I jotted down this morning from the video. In my opinion, it's not sick that people want to unalive Trump and the billionaires who are responsible for so much suffering. It's sick that people in power have normalized such obscene levels of systemic violence, especially against marginalized groups.
Well,
but after that, you concluded, we can't vote our way out of this.
Yeah, you can't vote your way out of these systems, meaning we have to change the systems. Now, again, if you want to take one line and cherry pick, fine. But please, everybody go watch that video.
Please do. It is a good video. It is interesting.
Brad,
and
please
I'm telling you, I watched it, and it sounds
Brad,
like you're sympathetic to them.
Come on, Brad.
You're crazy because I got canceled.
Brad, she got canceled.
This is ridiculous.
Brad.
It's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. At that point, you're just seeing what you want to see. And that's what the right does a lot. It's what the left does too, but it's really what the right does. You don't want to understand. You don't want to empathize with people. You just want to project onto them. And that's why we're in this place that we are right now with political violence. And I talk to a lot of extreme people from a lot of extreme groups. And it's frustrating because I think people get into these political rabbit holes and they can't see outside of them. And so everything becomes like this sort of like, oh, how can I kind of view this through the lens of my ideology? I think it's corrosive. I think it's toxic.
Matt, like the moral grandstanding escape is just like such a common thing, right? Isn't it? Where he's making, but you said this, it's like, oh, this is, come on, Brad, like, what are we doing here? And then escape the abstraction, like, the media, it's so toxic the way that we're all stuck in these, ideological.
It's actually structurally identical to how Donald Trump would respond to a question that he doesn't like, or an annoying reporter who quoted him some inconvenient fact. He would immediately segue to, you're all lying, nasty people, and, you're misrepresenting it. Like, there is a strength in that because, very, very few people, like less than 1% of people
actually
that are listening to that conversation would go
and check
and listen to the entire thing and formulate a reasonable opinion. And everyone, not just Lorenz, but Donald Trump or anyone, any actor in this space, they know that. So they can just categorically deny and present any version of it as they like, and that is an effective strategy.
There were two.
Wait, quick question. Did Tywin Lannister actually give the order for the Mountain to rape and kill Elia Martell, or did he just say, like, go kill all the people? Did he actually tell? Do you think? Do we know that? Is that given in the book? He didn't say it specifically? Okay.
Little clips.
If he did, it was out of context. Okay. I think it was just the Mountain doing Mountain thing because he's like a crazy dude.
And no little ones that are from a different event that Taylor Lorenz did on stage on a rooftop with Hassan Piker, round about the time that she was making these statements. Now, in these clips, she's not talking, okay? It's Hassan. But she's sitting next to Hassan, right? And I can say categorically, she doesn't disagree with him at any point. Nothing along praising the kind of things that he's saying, right?
There is no evidence of a written order. He didn't know it was even happening. Sammy XE, I see you. Good reference.
And this is the first thing. To me, reads very much like Hassan is cheering political violence. But see whether you agree.
I'm glad that, the millennials and the boomer liberals, Donald Trump has a tiny penis, it's cool. But, like, I think in the real world, the normies are way more radical than the way that the media is presenting this, like, liberal style resistance right now. I see Deborah's and Barbara's, like, line-ons on Facebook being like, Hakeem Jeffries, you need to go out and die. You need to go out and put your body on the line. What the fuck are you doing? And it's like literally like a 50-year-old lady on Facebook with her government name. And we kind of saw a bit of that with the North Carolina, Tom Tillis, where there were people like, I'm a 77-year-old veteran and this is my name. My name is Hank Peckerson. I live on 1874 Bellevue Drive and I'm going to kill you with my AR-15. Like, that's the type of messages they were leaving in this dude's office, and he's resigning. Like, this is his last term. So I think that people are
like, I'm so sorry. Fuck me. Hold on, I gotta not. This is why this is why the everybody's just pissing me off so much. Multiple Hassan fans at this point have been arrested for terrorism-related things. I don't know if that one guy ever got convicted. I guess the one who was calling in and making all the bomb threats. There was there have been multiple people who've been indicted and convicted who are Hassan fans for violent crimes related to politicians. And, like, the fact that he can just go out and say this stuff, like, invincibly, nobody cares. I want to say invincibly. I don't mean that somebody should kill him. I just mean that, like, he doesn't get any actionable things on Twitch, that nobody seems to think that, like, maybe this kind of speech is not okay and it should be moderated. Like, that's crazy to me.
More radical now.
I know it's a bit hard to hear, but he's saying, people are more radical than the media said. There was this person that was kind of like threatened by people with, direct threats of violence, and this, encouraged them to resign. So it's getting results, and you hear the crowd, hoot and holler, right? And then he makes reference to Taylor Lorenz and the video that Brad is talking about.
It's your bosses that are fucking you over. It's capital owners that are fucking you over. And I think this is a unique opportunity to get even Deborah's and Barbara's on board with that, like, white wine moms. And you actually wrote about this, and it was a great video where you talked about, someone has to do it. See, when I say that, everyone knows exactly what I mean. Which is, I think that shows that there is a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and untapped potential, untapped revolutionary potential, as a matter of fact.
Revolutionary?
And it's a great opportunity for organizing.
That means Marxist, by the way.
Unprecedentedly horrible times. So that's what I think.
Taylor Lorenz. I mean, Hassan Piker's taking you out of context as well, Chris.
I know, she didn't seem to mind there, but untapped potential, Matt, in those sentiments. But Hassan, if pushed on that, would also say, oh no, I'm just talking about, the anger.
Revolutionary potential.
Channeling it into progressive policies and so on. They're always...
For healthcare.
Like, they have the, the way to tap dance.
Notice, the one thing I don't like about these two guys is that they don't want us to have healthcare. Probably because I think they live in fucking the UK and Japan or some bullshit. So they are hogging all the free healthcare. They're hogging all of it.
Strategic ambiguity. Yeah, there's an interesting parallel there too, because the sort of online right, the sort of groper type characters, they have mastered this sort of art of double talk and the sort of
Alex Jones.
Yeah, joking, not joking, all of that bullshit, right? It's kind of the same thing though, isn't it? It's structurally got a lot in common, which is you're saying the thing, but you're not really saying.
You're getting cheers.
Yeah.
Where someone should do it. What are the cheers?
It's like nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You know what I'm talking about, but we haven't actually said the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, now the groupies don't do that on X. They just
directly say, I know.
They're just straight up extremists now. But for a long time, their thing was a bit like that. So yeah, strategic ambiguity. It's useful, a useful tool.
Plausible deniability. Yeah. Well, anyway, Matt, this is part of the reason I like Taylor Lorenz. I just think this is
just so you know, this like ambiguity stuff doesn't really work. It only works because nobody in the media will ask them questions about it. Like if somebody asks you questions about it, it looks terrible. Because they don't ever get pushed on it, they're able to kind of like get away with it, and then their fans can kind of save face that way.
In general, very slippery, not the good faith honest actor she presents herself as being. And whether you like her politics or not, I think you should be able to notice that she's, all the things that Matt was just talking about, the parallels. Like it's the same tactics that you see like someone like Constantine do whenever they're pushed on an issue where they refuse to own it.
And if your feeling is that you're okay with those tactics if they're being used in the service of good, then be honest with yourself about that. You know what I mean? So that means you have to have principles, right? So
yeah, I'd have more respect for Taylor if she just said, yeah, like I think it's, I was suggesting that political violence is perhaps necessary in this environment. Then yeah, I agree with that. Like on Piers Morgan, she did at the time strike like a slightly more chest out position on it, right? Like she wasn't endorsing it, but she wasn't doing this thing of like directly saying like the Brad now. No, I completely violence, not at all.
No, not at all. I'm just studying this phenomena, this terrible thing of people endorsing, and calling for political violence. I'm just a journalist.
Has there ever been a time where you felt like you had to pull back due to maybe treading on an extreme take? Maybe. I mean, there've been a few times where I've tried to like hedge my audience. Like I said, anytime there's like a big like shooting or something is happening, like I have to stop and think. I've said this before, like if this was an audience member of mine, how would I feel? And so far, I've always felt like it would be bad. I wouldn't want that to be an audience member of mine.
Was reporting on it. That's so disingenuous. Yeah, no, I agree. Like I might not agree, but I can still respect someone who is like, okay, I'm a straight up revolutionary. Inequality and stuff in the United States has gotten out of hand. The big money controls politics. Democracy is broken. We have to start shooting people right now. I don't think that's good.
That's not good. Yeah.
But that person is being honest, and you can. I just like Taylor Lorenz, right? I can say,
you can understand.
I can understand the reasons, right? I can the rationale, and it might be dangerous and bad on so many levels, but they're being honest and straight with themselves and with the person they're talking to. But that being said, you're right. Thematically, it's interesting. I think the theme is people just either not being aware of what they are or not presenting themselves for what they are. I think just represent yourself for what you are. Like this conservative guy that did the interview with Taylor Lorenz. I know nothing about him. Right. He told me he's a conservative, and like he seemed to do a good job with that interview. Right? Yeah. He did his homework. Right? He listened to the thing. He read the article. He did that stuff. Right? He's a unicorn. Like if he honestly represents himself for what he is, right? A normal conservative, and that's what he does, and that's where he's coming from, and could do a reasonably good interview. Then I have no problem with that. He is not a topic for this show.
No.
Just present yourself for what you are.
For God's sake, yeah, I know.